green eyes and fairly, back when I had hair, was fairly light. But the point is this: a lot of it, from Nazis, from neo-Nazis, right? A lot of racism, which is funny. And I came to Australia, and everybody called me a Nazi because obviously I'm from Germany, so I must be a Nazi. But now, when people call me a Nazi or whatever, it's not true. I'm not. I'm probably as far away from a Nazi as you can get. In fact, my family almost ended up in Auschwitz, which is another story altogether. But the point here is that what we're seeing in the Gaza Strip is ethnic cleansing. And with the continued denial of food and now the risk that people have, just generally speaking, with no medical aid anymore, there's hardly any functioning medical infrastructure left, be personnel or hospitals for that matter, right? Neither the building nor the people. We are now seeing the increased danger to especially young people, children in that area, dying by the hundreds again, and more maybe, who knows. But eventually Israel will push them all out of Gaza. That's the plan. And the ceasefire was voted down by the US, and that's why I'm saying that the UN no longer reflects the reality of the world. The UN has to be completely overhauled. Membership has to be reviewed. Security Council has to be reviewed. The wrong people, the wrong nations are sitting in the Security Council. That's Gaza. Ukraine managed to strike deep into Russian territory. Bombers that blew up, I don't know, 40 or something bombers, whatever they did. It's significant damage, but that's I mean, it's war. I mean, to be honest with you, kudos. And they blew up a bridge too, right? The bridge to the Crimean Peninsula. Mm-hmm. Yeah, which is a critical bridge for the Russian.
It's not completely cut off, but it's going to require repairs.
Yeah, but see, what they did was clever. They blew up the underwater support struts. Mm-hmm. So it's really hard. Number one, it's hard to repair, but it also makes the bridge extremely unstable. So you got to be careful, right? So
that's right.
We'll see.
You're not putting tanks over it. Yeah.
No, not today. not for a while. That's true. So it's a vital supply line for the Russian forces, though.
$50 billion.
Now, then Donald Trump calls Putin. And go, okay, well, that's good. That's now he can tell Putin, stop it. I mean, this is crazy. No, that's not what happened. He spoke to him apparently for an hour and said, yeah, Putin is going to take revenge. And I'm thinking to myself, what? You're now Putin's, I don't know what, mouthpiece? Is that what's happening here? You're telling the world, look, Putin is upset and he's going to take revenge on the Ukrainians. He's been invading the country for 2 years. What more? Bomb them more? Bomb them more. Except he doesn't have the bombers anymore. What, is he going to deploy nuclear weapons? Because the next escalation in this war, actually, that's not true. It could be chemical, biological weapons, which we haven't seen yet. But there's a fundamental difference between the Ukraine and Russia, Dave, in this war. And if you do the analysis yourself, you can see that I'm correct. Russia targets civilians, right? Apartment blocks, hospitals, blah, 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 whatever, right? And some of the electrical and so forth infrastructure. The Ukrainians target exclusively military targets. Mm-hmm. That's it. No attack on civilians, military targets only. That's a huge difference. But Donald Trump has become the mouthpiece for Putin. Now, you know how I feel, and you know what I think about Putin, and you know what I think about Trump, and how I think Trump is compromised in many ways. And to me, if you're still not convinced that Donald Trump is compromised after everything that's happened, then, my hat goes off to you, because you get Ostrich of the Year. That's for you. Ostrich of the Year award. Coming your way. Okay? The other thing that's interesting, I was laughing today. I'm sorry, Dave. Trump banned 12 countries from coming to the U.S. 12 countries. And he cited terrorist reasons. Okay, look, I get it. I mean, if you've got countries out there in the world that support terrorism and you're afraid that they might send people to your country that could be, terrorists, hey, I dig it. I'm all for it. Stop them coming in. Unfortunately, only one of the countries is listed on the U.S. website, be it FBI, I can't remember if it's FBI or CIA, as a terrorist harboring country. Only one, and that's Iran.
And that's the first one named on the list.
Yeah, there's Togo, and there's
Haiti.
Haiti.
That's great.
Now, See, Haiti, that's like kicking a guy when he's down. I mean, Haiti is in a state of this. It's horrible. But the countries are Afghanistan, Myanmar, Chad, Congo Brazzaville, which you've never heard of, which he never heard of, Equatorial Guinea, which you've never heard of, which he never heard of, Eritrea. I dare you, Donald, to show me Eritrea on a map. Haiti, Iran, Libya, okay, I get it. Somalia, I can understand. Sudan, I can understand. Yemen, I can understand, because there may be terrorists in those countries. I get it. Okay. There are other countries, which are 7 other countries, which have a partial ban, and that's Burundi. Again, show me. Show me where Burundi is on the map, please. Cuba, Laos, Sierra Leone. Another one I'd like you to show me where it is. Togo, Turkmenistan, and Venezuela. So, okay. So that's 19 countries which are facing restrictions, either complete total restrictions to enter the US or partial restrictions, right? Is it going to hurt America? No, it's not going to hurt. It's going to hurt the countries that are being banned. So that's obviously the idea behind it. Now, you know what the interesting bit of information is here, though, Dave? Most of those countries didn't accept any of the people that Trump wanted to repatriate. So, the deportation of illegal aliens and so forth. These countries didn't play ball with him on that. Okay, so, is he petty? Well, maybe not. I don't know. All I know is, if you don't like the sanctions, if you want to go to the US, you got to play ball. I mean, this is reality. People go, oh, this is not right, and this blah blah and the other. I'm sorry. I live in the real world, and in the real world, this is what's happening. If you don't like it, change it, right? But until you change it, and this goes to Americans, by the way, that's where we're living. This is the world, right? So people voted for it. I say, suck it up, princess. Let's move on. That's all I want to say about these things. Any thoughts on those, Dave?
No, not touching it with a barge pole. So,
really?
Yeah. You see, I'll say a few things, and that is, I don't watch Trump moment to moment, and I listen to what is said, and I look at the summaries of what he's been speaking about, and then later I see what the effects were of each of the things that he said, whether that gains him any advantage or not, how that works. I'm watching someone attempting to play the game. That's what I'm watching. So to be the person that I am, and I have a measuring stick, and I want to be in the middle of the measuring stick. So if someone takes it far to the left, I'm going to adjust my measuring stick, right? So when I watch it all, I'm watching geopolitics at light speed. That's what I'm watching. I've like never before. I don't think there's been a time in history when it's been just like it is today. We're breaking new ground, and every single day, and I try to stay a step out from it, because I know that he said, and everybody knows, we all heard him say, I'll stop the war even before I take the chair. That's what he said. And still going. Far out. Every single time I get a call from the same person. The show started, I sent in my schedule, still happens, just putting it out there. Anyway, so I think it's funny that what I've seen and heard from people who bargain, who might be dealing with the wrong side of civilization. I'm saying Trump's doing this. Reddington from the Blacklist, all the things that he says and the way he operates, and the way that I'm watching someone who, in a conversation talking about real estate, on a very low profile, would be having some success. The way he talks, the way he attempts to play the other person down, whether it's only half-truths or fully real, legitimate, causational, news stories. I'm not in his pocket. I'm not one of the crew that's sitting at his board table, a sycophant. I'm not. I am attempting to be as balanced. I'm not saying you're not, Mickey. I'm not. This is
fair and balanced.
It's fair. I'm not CNN from the 80s. You know what I'm saying? Right? So I'm not doing any of that. What I'm trying to do is just go, well, this is new. This is a new way. Does this work? Does any of this work? My comment is that it might work in a kingdom. Two kings battling each other, launching taunts, right? Now go away.
I speak in your general direction.
Or I shall taunt you a second time. Yeah, exactly. So, taunts, yes, he's full of them. Accuracy, not always accurate. Not always accurate. Not all the claims are accurate. But in a one-to-one situation where it's just, if it was you and him and he was doing what he does, would I walk out with the better deal? No. He would get the deal, or I would back out entirely and I wouldn't sign up with it, right? So it's the strength of the people that he's dealing with, I think, that he thinks, in my opinion, he thinks that he's winning and that these are good strategies to play. But in the gentleman's world of diplomacy, which we've had for at least 80 years, deleting America from that, because America really hasn't always played that way, because they write the rules. America writes the rules for itself, and it doesn't matter, right? It's all good. And the rest of us just have to deal with whatever happens after America's done what it does. So I'm trying to say, it's not being weak in my response, though, is, like I said, it's a brand new geopolitical field. I don't know about him being bought or owned or something. I just don't. I think his loose lips, he had a conversation with Putin on the phone. Yes, it took 45 minutes to an hour, whatever it is, right? What was the outcome? Well, he tweets, the guy's crazy, right? Does that mean anything? Is he educated, or does he have a plaque on the wall that says he's capable of determining someone else's mental health? No, he doesn't. In his experience, did it go in Trump's favor? Probably not. It didn't. Otherwise, he would have been spruiking that. You would have had an ad campaign. There would have been a garbage truck with a poster on the side going, "I stopped the war." It hasn't stopped. It hasn't ceased. I was watching PDB, and they were talking about the three different categories of retaliation. One is real nukes, really low, 5% on average was the response. Tactical nukes, there's possibility of something like that. Just conventional weapons, just destroying everything about Ukraine and give them nothing. Give them nothing. So, do I agree with those statements? Well, I'm not sure. I'm going to have to take the fence on this and say, I'm sure, the only thing I can be sure about is that Putin won't sit around. He's not going to take that. A year and a half in the planning of these, aircraft, and not all of them had engines. So was it a boneyard? Were some of these in service or not? I'm not sure whether they were all in service, Mackie, to be honest with you. So, look, it was a good strike. I think it was really clever. I think the Ukrainians did a good job. But a year and a half in the planning, that means Biden was in the chair at the time when all of those, the planning events and everything were put together. So can anyone really can they put a medal on their chest because they were part of this? Well, Germany is the highest contributor right now to Ukraine. Um, Britain and France are up there now. America's, I don't know, fourth or fifth or something now. They're winding back their money. If you look at it in the past year, then America's up in, I think, third place. Whoever it was that said yes to this aircraft plan, whatever you want to call it, not by code, I'm not going to use the code name, was there someone that gave the go-ahead? This was the main point from PDB, because he's a businessman, he's a planner, he likes to make deals, just like Trump does. So who said, hey, this is a bad idea, why don't you do that?
No, I don't think that happened, Dave. I really think the Ukrainians played this one close to the chest. Same with the bridge. Same when they actually invaded Russia itself. I don't think they might have had some tactical support, but I don't think the planning went to the Americans. I don't think they trust the Americans enough.
I'm not saying the Americans were part of it. I'm kind of claiming a little here that it's the new backers who.
Oh, the Europeans, possibly.
Absolutely. And
possibly.
So, if I'm up against a bully, and I've got some friends, and they go, "Oh yeah, you should really do this, because we got your back." That was the claim PDB was making. That someone said, like, maybe guarantee we got your back on this.
Yeah, I honestly I don't think
for
maybe,
Europe.
but I don't think
for Europe.
I don't think that happened. I think. I don't think the Ukrainians they would have been mum about this. This is very similar, in my opinion, to what happened when the Israelis blew up all of Hezbollah's cell phones and pages and such. Right.
Right.
I think this operation it's longer than planning. I think they did it because they could see this war's going to go for a while.
Mm-hmm.
So what can we do to strike in the territory? Because remember, they were the permission to strike into Russian territory with missiles, etc., was only given last week, right?
Yeah.
And this is not that.
That's
you know,
that's right.
They actually transported all of those drones to very close to their targets. So this is actually way into Russia itself.
It's pretty clever the way they did it in kid homes.
Yeah. And they then launched from trucks or whatever, or boxes, right next to the airfields, right?
Yeah, right
next to it. So this is not Ukraine sending drones or missiles across a whole swath of territory, not at all. So anyway, but one thing I want to say here, and this is important. At this point, if anybody believes that Donald Trump is not in Putin's pocket, all right, and I don't care what he says Putin is crazy. He can say whatever he wants. Putin doesn't care what he says either, right? But what Putin counts on is non-action, right? He doesn't want the U.S. to interfere in any way, support Ukraine in any way. Mm-hmm. Okay, so Donald Trump last week was upset. Oh, the Putin I know would never have done this. He's crazy now. So what? Trump didn't do a thing to stop Putin from, carrying out his attacks, as they were negotiating. And now
the evidence is that he did that. Nothing happened.
He didn't do anything. Mm-hmm. Nothing. Yeah. So now Ukraine is struck I think it's a fairly significant strike, and I have to say I'm really impressed from a purely military point of view. The planning and the execution flawless. Same with the bridge. I have to say, a lot of discipline, a lot of technical know-how as well, mind you. So, and still, Trump does nothing. Trump is the mouthpiece of Putin, saying, "Oh, Putin is going to take revenge."
That's right.
Now, that's not the message I want from the leader of the free world. I don't want him to tell me, "Oh, Putin is going to take revenge." I want Donald Trump to say, "Oh, I put him in his place. I threatened him with sanctions. He's going to come to the table now." None of that. So it is beyond for me now, at least, right? Beyond the shadow of a doubt that Putin has the tapes. Whatever. I am firmly convinced that it's the Epstein tapes that he has. Okay. Showing Trump doing whatever he does. Who knows what happened? I have no idea. But the point is, Putin has those. Musk knows that he has those. Now, Musk this is interesting when things are sort of falling apart there at that level. Musk is now very much opposed to the bill that is being proposed, the big beautiful bill, and very strongly opposed. I don't know if anybody followed that but he was scathing. He tweeted that everybody should stop this bill from being voted into or through the Senate, because it's past Congress and now it's in the Senate, and stop it, because it's a huge it's a $2 trillion increase to the deficit. Medicaid for, I don't know, 10 million U.S. citizens is going to be canceled over the next 2 years, and a whole bunch of other stuff that is no good in Musk's mind. So it's really interesting to see how this develop, right? But I still am convinced that Donald Trump is absolutely, completely beholden to Putin. There's nothing Donald Trump can do that will in any way detrimentally affect Putin. He cannot. Because we have seen this now develop. I mean, he's been in there. It's June now, right? It's June. It's almost 6 months, not quite. It's almost 6 months, getting there, right? And nothing, zero. He's looking for an exit strategy, because he said, "Oh, I can end the war in 24 hours." I mean, that was always hyperbole. I mean, fair enough. Let's not dwell on this, right? Same with Gaza. Oh, I can finish the war in a day. Yeah, sure. No one believed that. But by the same token, no one would have thought that it would have gone on like this. And now we're looking at ethnic cleansing of the Gaza Strip, and we're looking of Putin being completely unopposed in anything he does by the U.S. Completely unopposed. Do what you want, essentially, and still, spreading this idea that it's actually the fault of the Ukrainians that it came to this kind of war in the first place, which is a complete nonsense, which I find hilarious.
Well, I have something to add, and that is the warning to the European nations. That's really how I've taken what he said about Putin. He's crazy. It's not the Putin I know. He's crazy. So that upset Putin as well as the planes being destroyed.
Honestly, I don't think that upset Putin.
Well, yeah, I was watching the news coverage and translated version of what he said, word for word from the media, and he said, "Well, we have means, we have not." He didn't say the word armaments, but we have the things that we need to strike back, and that's it.
He does.
Oh, he does, but that's the thing that I mean. If you look at the crazy part, the European continent, which America's pulled out supporting them, they've got to support themselves now, and hey, good luck with that.
But look, the thing is this: in my opinion, Europe has been remiss in that space for a long time.
They have.
Europe should have been
They did use America as a crutch.
Oh, completely. But, and again, that's the way America designed it. Make no mistake. After World War II, when they had the choice of either turning Japan and Germany into agricultural nations, that would never be a threat again for anyone, or giving them industrial help and monetary help to be built up again. Mm-hmm. In the case of Germany, it was easy, because the Americans, the English and the French, but mostly the Americans, needed a strong buffer zone in Europe against what was then East Germany and the Russian zone, right? Mm. And what then later became the Warsaw Pact, the Eastern Bloc, etc. So that was made sense from a security point of view. You have to build Germany up. Japan became a lot clearer that China might rise. So it was good to have a strong ally, have a base. I mean, Okinawa is pretty much American, right? Have a bases in the Philippines, have bases in Japan. That make perfect sense from an American security standpoint, right? And you can only understand it from that perspective, right? It doesn't make any sense otherwise. But from a security and free market point of view, America did what it had to do for the last 80 years. Now, this is Trump, who doesn't seem to understand the history of it. Fair enough, whatever. Has now thrown that out the window, right? And okay, that's what he wants to do. That's his prerogative. He's the president. The American people voted for him. They're going to get another chance in 4 years' time, if they don't like it, get someone else in. But that's where we are. So it is not something that the Europeans designed. It is something that America designed. Okay, and in fact, Germany, in its constitution, wasn't allowed to deploy overseas. In its constitution, which was supported by the United States when it was first formed. We don't want you to arm, right? I mean, the Bundeswehr was limited to certain numbers. Germany was a base for American nuclear weapons. It was. No longer is, but it was. And Germany was occupied. Germany was occupied until the late 1990s. Now, people don't realize this, but the military presence of the French, the British, the Belgians, and the Americans never ended. They all still had, in fact, some of them still have military bases. The last occupational military base was in my hometown, was a Belgian base, believe it or not. There was like, my grandparents lived in like, we lived in a kind of a housing commission kind of thing for, I guess, refugees. Like, anyway, it was nice for a kid to grow up. Don't think of this as something bad. It was actually quite a nice area. But across the street were the Belgian barracks. The Belgian barracks were there. And there were some Belgian cafes and restaurants as well in my neighborhood. And then they had the sort of the meadow and then the forest. And inside the forest, you had the Belgian military base where the actual military equipment was. This were the barracks where the people lived, right? And that occupation only ended in the late 90s, right? When the last of the Belgian soldiers went back to Belgium, okay? But Remagen or other American bases, they still exist in Germany. So let's be very clear that it was the Americans that created what Donald Trump now wants to dismantle, for good reasons, mind you, right? But we have to understand the history. It wasn't the Europeans that were deliberately lazy, but the Americans rigged it in such a way that they had to rely on America. America wanted to be the power that kept everything in check.
And the military-industrial complex.
Well, I mean, that goes hand in hand because that's really what
that's what I'm saying. Yep. And the other one was Japan was also restricted in its ability to make fixed wing aircraft carriers. It could only have rotational wing or helicopter carriers. But that's all been lifted now, right? So
it's all different now.
It is different.
But again, it's 80 years, right, of history in between. But the point is, this is people don't understand this, right? This is my main beef is that people really don't understand why things are happening or have happened the way they happen. It didn't just happen that way out of what a mysterious thing this is. This history you talk about.
People don't know where Sierra Leone is, like you said, and not even Trump, but just people. I wanted to touch on that bill you were talking about, the big beautiful bill.
Beautiful bill.
Right? It's going to be great. I should work on my Trump, but
you should.
I should. Okay, so I've got something here, Mekki, that I was looking at today. And this is Green calls for AI regulation removal from the big, beautiful bill. Okay, so there's a story here. Trump's big, beautiful bill faces heat over the 10-year AI moratorium.
Yeah,
all right, just for everyone out there, officers, chief information officers that were extremely concerned by the proposal to prohibit states from enforcing their AI statutes and regulations for the next 10 years. One of the senators, Green, is calling for it to be removed entirely from the bill. Doesn't it kind of spark your curiosity? Really?
It's interesting, isn't it? I mean, I agree with you. I heard about this a couple of days ago, and you have to ask yourself, why can't I do anything for 10 years? What?
It's already going to be too late in 10 years. Whatever.
Completely. It'll be too late tomorrow. What?
In fact, I think it's too late now. Yeah, so look, it worries me greatly. I think that the smartest people there are, well, I think they're putting their hand up and saying we really should put some rules around creating AI. But like Mekki, we are in tech. We do tech. That is our career. It's our choice, and we sell and proposition companies for introducing new technology into their businesses. And we've spoken, oh boy, to the end of the world about the possibilities and dangers of having an unbridled AI world in front of us. And I think that it's true that once the genie's out, governments are too slow to react to anything. So it would already be too late. And like we've said, it could already be too late right now. Now, having said that, if America doesn't do it, someone else will. If
Possibly.
It doesn't even have to be America. It could be within America. You know, just because you can't buy meth down at the chemist doesn't mean there won't be any meth. It just means it's been made in someone's backyard, right? Or the garage, or their basement, or wherever you smell that terrible smell coming from. So, so in that same vein, if America was to ban AI research and only let the big people do it, like the grown-ups, only let the grown-ups do it, then someone else is going to do it anyway. It's still going to be a risk. And if it's not America, it's going to be another country. And if it's not another country, it'll be some, clandestine, set of people with the right skill set in a basement or a garage. Remember Google, Mackie, and YouTube? YouTube was made in a garage. It's one of the most visited platforms on the planet. So, look, do we want it? I'd say take it out.
Oh, completely. I mean, I was actually surprised about all the stuff that's in there because, he's right. It's big. It's a big bill.
It's a big, beautiful bill.
Everything.
It's going to be great.
Cram. Now, but what is worrying though, and this is actually because I looked at it, right? It does add 2 trillion and change to the debt. That's true. That's the true statement.
Mm-hmm.
It will reduce Medicaid for about 10 million U.S. citizens, and mostly MAGA-based, believe it or not.
Mm-hmm.
That's also true. Okay, so and it will give a massive tax cut to the top 1% of 1%, right? Is that no? Well, I mean, is that what the Americans voted for?
No.
I'm going to say no.
Not at all, because they voted for someone who had their back.
Yeah. So, but guys, and I said this when this first happened, right? And I said this to you, right? All these people with him, they're all billionaires, not millionaires. They're billionaires, and if they're millionaires, they want to be billionaires. They're getting there, right? And the others are all Fox News anchors. So that's the gene pool you have there. And I don't know anyone. See, in Australia, I give an example. In Australia, we have something that is called negative gearing. Essentially, what it means is when you've got an investment property, be it a house or a flat, or even a parking space, doesn't really matter. Any cost associated with it, as well as any interest, especially the interest for your loan, can be deducted from tax.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's a straight deduction from your tax. That's called negative gearing. Any loss on the thing, including like interest, is considered a loss. And that's really good because it makes it easy for you to invest in property if you've got the spare cash. Right? Now, a lot of politicians in our parliament, and from both spectrums of politics, and when I say both, I mean both liberal as well as Labour, but certainly some others as well, and probably not so many Green members, but they all have properties. Not a property, but properties. They will never, ever vote for this to be abolished. It won't happen.
That's right. Because they're deep into it.
Yeah. How anybody would think that these billionaires that are pretty much Donald Trump's base would ever vote for anything that hurts them financially or doesn't give them advantage financially, like a big tax break. It's completely beyond me. I don't know why anybody would believe that to be true. It's a mystery. It baffles the mind, Dave. It really does.
Yeah, and so it should. And so it should baffle the mind. I wanted to... I'm going to take it somewhere else. That's what I'm going to do. We've been talking about AI, quantum experiments, and a whole bunch of things. And I found a story here which is really cool, and it's from New Scientist. I did send you a link today. It says, "Do we have free will? Quantum experiments may soon reveal the answer. Whether or not we have partial free will could soon be resolved by experiments in quantum physics with potential consequences for everything from religion to quantum computers." and that was
Yeah,
that was put out a few days ago.
I actually bought the new Scientist magazine that had the article. So they like to do that once in a while, throw that stuff out, and the truth is this, right? You cannot prove it either way. You can't. It's not possible. Unless you come up with an experiment where you show clearly that free will does not exist. But living in a deterministic universe is almost impossible, and I'll tell you why. Right now, if we believe that quantum physics is a thing, if we think that the many worlds theory, Everett's many worlds theory, is correct, if we believe that when the wave function collapses, the other points on the wave function still exist, we just can no longer observe them, right? So if we believe all of that, then free will is absolutely a thing, because we are choosing in many ways the collapse of our reality. Having said that, though, and this is where it gets really tricky, someone chooses all the other points as well. You understand what I'm saying? So simple math. Let's say there are 1 million points on this curve. It's infinite, but let's call it 1 million, right? You, Dave, observe the double slit and you see, okay, the electron or the photon is going this way, and that's your experimental outcome right there, right? That's your reality, right? Before you observed it, it was a wave function. There are like 1 million little dots on there, right? In 1 million other realities, 1 million other Daves would have picked 1 million other dots until all the dots are accounted for. So at this point, you could argue, well, is there free will? Because across the 1 million Daves, there's really no free will. Because you all pick a dot. You don't have a choice. You have to pick a dot, right? Not consciously, I'm saying.
That's called forced choice.
Well, that's it, right? So is there free will? I don't know. But it certainly, it does bear thinking about, right? I mean, and how would we know anyway? How would you know? Unless we can foretell the future, right? We can't. But the thing is this, again, quantum physics. We live in a sea of probabilities. A sea of probabilities, right? And some probabilities are more probable than others. It's just the nature of probabilities, right? You got a higher probability for this and a lower probability for that. That's fine. But they're probabilities. And your future snakes its way through that sea of probabilities, right? Usually going for the one that is most probable in your world sphere, let's call it, right? But not necessarily. Not necessarily, right? So that's when choice comes in, right? Do we have a choice then? This Dave here is choosing this path, and the Dave over here in the other reality is choosing that path, right? And those paths will diverge at some point, but ultimately, all versions of Dave will have a chance at existence. All versions of Dave are expressed somewhere in the multiverse, right? So does the individual Dave have free will? Seemingly so, yes. But does the meta-universal Dave have free will? Only in the context of that all the choices have to be taken up, in my mind. Do you know what I mean?
I choose not to choose.
You choose, well, that's the choice. That's fine. Right? So the Dave that is here makes a choice, and that is a free will choice. It's a probability, and he chose this one, so that's what it is, right? Could have chosen something else. Less likely, less probable, but nonetheless, he chose this one. Okay. The Dave one universe over chooses the other one, or something else again. But at the end of the day, all of the Daves in totality across the multiverse would have chosen until all the choices are chosen up. Until all the probabilities have been used up, right? If the multiverse, according to Everett, is a thing, right? So I don't know, brother. To me, it's a fairly simple and straightforward answer.
And that's why we're friends. So I have another story here, and this is it ran today, I think, on the TV, and I got to see it, and I found the news story. And this comes from the ABC News. It's in the sciencenews.org, and there'll be a link in the video at the bottom. Australian cockatoos use their beaks and claws to turn on water fountains.
Right near me, Western Sydney.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly right. Using their dexteritas. That's a new word. Yes, that was perfectly criminal. So, Burnsy doesn't say that, but the birds imbibe from infrastructure designed for humans. What there is in the picture, you'll see a sulfur-crested standing there. It's a drinking fountain, but there's a regular tap that they've got to turn on, like a garden hose tap. And it's spring-loaded, so you push resistance against it. You've got to hold it there, plus drink the water while you've got that turn, because that's when the water comes out. And they've taught each other. So one of them worked it out. The rest of them have all now passed it on. And there's more than 100 birds now that can drink from this water fountain, which is just tremendous. Yeah. It reminded me of the time when I was driving down the road and there was a gap. This was Pacific Highway, north of Artarmon, before the freeway, right?
Okay.
So I'm driving and there's 2 lanes on my side of the road. There's 2 lanes on the other side. It's peak hour. And there happened to be a gap of 1 car, exactly 1 car in all the traffic. As far as I could see, there was only 1 car gap, and it was beside me. And one of the sulfur-crested flew down, and as we're all snaking our way down the hill, and it filled the gap with itself for no other reason but for enjoyment. It wasn't going somewhere. It certainly wasn't going to work, like we all were. Right? And it filled the gap until we all came to rest because the lights changed and not to our favour and to a cross street. And then it flew up and it was very pleased with itself, right? Which is fantastic to see that it was one of us for a minute. Imagine the stories that it would have. This is like, what was that, something Livingston Seagull story where he wanted to break the sound barrier? Do you remember that? There's a book, something Livingston Seagull. Livingston Seagull is the title of the book, and he wants to break the sound barrier, but the only way he can do it is by flying all the way as high as he can, and then coming down with his wings tucked in, and attempting that. And they all go, "Oh, you're all mad. You're mad. It's only a seagull." But they're all, they all speak English according to the book. He has grand plans, and they all ridicule him for his plan. It's a great book if you ever get a chance to read it. So, once again, Meki, Australian ingenuity with this sulfur-crested cockatoo teaching its friends what to do, how to use this.
That's a fair point.
I want to. The last point I wanted to make is, and I see this growing trend now. It's street violence, machetes, knives. People are getting unalived by marauding gangs with machetes. Now Victoria, the state of Victoria, put a ban out really quickly. They got this passed. So now there's a machete ban. Not allowed to buy them or sell them. And if you own one and you walk around the street, you can be arrested, blah, blah, blah. Right? And good. I'm sure that's a good thing. But we had a gun ban, Meki. We had a gun ban. And so this is the natural thing. The next one is to sharp implements. And the next one after sharp implements is going to be blunt objects.
Sticks, stones, no more rocks.
A stick with a nail in it is going to be the next one after that. And then I don't know what we'll have left. We'll have to register these as weapons.
So I got to say, I saw that as well. And look, what happened was there was a shopping center in Melbourne where 2 gangs of youths were chopping at each other with machetes, right? Mm-hmm. Obviously scaring the bejesus out of all the bystanders. Mm-hmm. Now, that's never okay, right? Make no mistake. Violence in a peaceful setting, the last thing, especially when you're out with your family, is violence. However, However, let me be very clear. There's something fundamentally wrong with people that mete out violence. Okay, it could, who knows, psychological. It could be, it could be a drug induced. It could be there's something wrong with them on a neurochemical basis. It could be any. There could be many different reasons why people are violent, right? And what we're doing here is we're not dealing with the problem. Okay, we are dealing with a symptom. The symptom is violence, right? When you got a cough, see, this is Western medicine as well. When you got a cough or a fever, we want to get rid of the cough or the fever. So we suppress the cough or we suppress the fever. You get medication for that, right? But we don't deal with the cause of the cough or the fever, okay? Could be an infection, but in the first instance, we're not dealing with it. This is the same. The violence is a symptom of an underlying condition. What's wrong with these people? And this point was made by a psychiatrist, and I completely agree with it. We need to deal with the basis of the violence, because it doesn't matter if you ban all the machetes. You can ban all the guns you want. It doesn't matter. In Europe as well as here, people have used cars to kill people deliberately. I mean, a lot of people, right? Horrific, or trucks for that matter. And now, okay, again, guns are banned. Okay, I mean, criminals. We have a lot of shootings in Sydney. A lot.
Mm-hmm.
Not a few. We have a lot of shootings, but guns are banned. Well, if guns are banned, then the only people that have guns will be the criminals.
That's right.
Okay, it's that simple. Because they'll find ways to get guns. Yeah,
oh, they always do.
And let's say you can't get a gun. Okay, let's say you can't. All right. If you want to do violence to someone, you'll find a way. You pick up a stick or a rock, or you buy a knife. I mean, how far can we take this? I mean, a machete is I think it's the blade was 20 inches, I think, something like that.
That's right.
There was a certain fixed blade length. So you can't have a fixed blade, full stop, right? And 20 inches is what they call a machete, because a machete is a very specific thing, but what they're actually referring to is any knife with a 20-inch blade. I think it's 20, it could be 10-inch. Anyway, point is this. Okay, so you ban that. But machete, I have a machete. I use it when I go bush. Right, I get firewood, and it's useful. It's a useful tool. I use it in my backyard. I can trim my bushes in the backyard with it. Okay, and I'm not going to go run out the street, chopping at people. That's insane, right? So there's 26 million people in Australia that have machetes and they use them for whatever. There's 10 people that use them to chop up people.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's complete insanity. We can't ban these things. I mean, are you going to now ban kitchen knives? I've got kitchen knives. I've got a Japanese kitchen knife that I could shave with.
Yes.
It's so sharp. Mm-hmm. I actually chopped off part of my finger.
Yes.
Like so clean. I went to the hospital. and showed the doctor, and he goes, "Oh wow, that's a clean cut." I go, "Yeah, that's amazing. What kind of knife?" Seriously, this is the conversation. What kind of knife did you use? I explained it to him. He goes, "Oh wow, that's great." Anyway, so it actually grew back. So I'm Wolverine. My point is, I still have the chopped off finger in my cufflink box.
In some formaldehyde. Yeah, that's right.
It's no. It's all necrotic and black.
Ew.
But you're soft. But the point is this: once in a while, I sprinkled some in my tea. No, but are you going to ban kitchen knives? Are you going to ban steak knives? Are you going to ban? I mean, where does it? My question is this: if somebody now goes on a rampage with a steak knife, God forbid, right? Are we going to ban steak knives? And then tomorrow, there'll be fights with baseball bats. So no more baseball bats. And
spoons.
I
played knifey spoony before.
Yeah, because it's a knee-jerk reaction to ban machetes. What we need to address is, why do we have these gangs of youngsters intent on violence?
That's right.
We need to address that, and we can like in the olden days, we can bring guns to school, have them in the racks, or go hunting after school. That's the problem, Dave.
Yeah, look, so exaggerating the problem is, whatever the problem is, ban it. Then the next one that rises up, whatever the problem is, ban it, and just keep doing that until, I don't know, like I'll sit in my front yard, and I don't know, I'll watch someone go by. Now they could have been hurt, they could have been emotionally destroyed by me looking at them. So maybe they're an introvert. They don't like going outside. Their friend said, "Why don't you go outside?" "Oh, no, I don't like it." "Oh, no, go outside." And then they walk past my place, and I look at them, and now they'll never, ever go outside again. What do? Ban me for looking at them? The thing is, the more you protect I'm not saying it should be a Wild West, but the more you protect your people, the softer and softer they get until they're incapable of dealing with anything. And I say that from a Gen Xer. That's who I am. The parents even barely knew we existed, to be honest with you. Right? In America, they played an ad. Do you know where your children are? Oh, imagine you're halfway drinking something going, oh, that's right, I've got children. Right? It's a comedy bit. There's a guy who does it better than I do. And that, I think, is really important for us to remember. I made a statement today, and I'm going to get a lot of hate for this. And if it makes one of our short reels, fine. I'll take it.
Let's do it.
And that is, the people who are currently having the most problems are the ones who receive participation awards at school.
I agree. The lessons of losing and winning need to be learned early in life.
Mm-hmm.
The lessons of effort, the lessons of hard work, the lessons of cooperation, friendship, and even fisticuffs, right? I mean, one should never try to solve one's child's problems. And I'm not an advocate of violence in school, but I'll be honest with you, I was exposed to a lot of violence inflicted upon my person in school, okay? I would have liked not to have that happen, but in many ways it also made me who I am today.
But, is that where you got the tick from?
but look, we can't mollycoddle our kids, and I completely agree with your assessment that people who were put and packed in cotton wool and you participated, they can't adjust to the reality of life, because in life it's not like that. You go into the workforce or whatever, right, and into the real world, people are not going to thank you for coming into work. They're not going to thank you for but I'm here, I should be promoted, I'm here, what are you talking about, right? Dave is absolutely right. It is the Gen X's, when they leave the workforce, in my opinion, we're going to have a huge issue in the world. Massive. Okay? But we'll see.
We'll see. Well, I'm expecting the music to start any millisecond. Do like, subscribe, share, and comment any of our videos. If you see a reel...
Radio.
There it is.
Oh, there's the music. Hey, but Dave is right. Please do that. Like, subscribe, do whatever you can. Comment, visit the website. This has been Platos Cave. If you liked it, great, like it. If you see it in the short, like it even more. Share it as well. Donate if you can. That'd be really awesome. Don't go anywhere. Something else is going to come up, I'm sure.
Things were not quite right. Everything was just ever so slightly askew.
But Dave, most of all,
be safe.
To paraphrase Morpheus, there's Splinter